I'm going to go back to a little bit of history. I've been in the organic business since 1990, certified organic producer, and I've been involved with all of the GM contamination, starting with soybeans, then corn, and then flax, and now alfalfa. What happens when there's a contamination like that, our basic market just shuts right down. We had a market going to Europe and Japan, which Canada produces a lot of soybeans and markets a lot of soybeans in those countries. And when there was a GM contamination, everything shuts down. So to regain that market for the soybeans, what we had to do and the industry had to do was basically buy back and convince the buyers that, you know, it was not contaminated. So from there was a lot of testing that had to be done. We had to set up an IP system. We had to go back from not using bin seed, but to certified seed. Okay, so all of these things took about 2 years to do. And then on top of that, we had to go back twice as many times to convince our buyers to try to get that market back. And it's the industry that bears that cost. And there's only one way we can do that, is also pass that back on to the growers. So we kind of worked through that system with the soybeans, which took about 2 years. With corn, that seed, that Starlink seed, was supposed to have been destroyed. It was promised to have been destroyed. And here it comes back 5 years later and contaminates the whole corn industry. And again, everything shut down. And then we had to go through the same process again, but we had to create all sorts of new testing techniques, which was the strip testing, the ELISA testing, which all cost the industry money. And again, to try to buy back the consumer, the buyer's confidence again, which all took all sorts of money. And then again, the same issue with flax. It was seed that was produced and it was ordered by a court to destroy it in 1996. And here last year, it was found, and it pretty well had contaminated the whole flax seed industry. Now, there's a lot of uncertainty whether there's even any seed available that we can keep GMO free to multiply again to get the organic market back again. And the flax is basically shut down. Keystone Grain is out of Winkler, Manitoba. Our business is mostly flax and sunflowers. It took us 15 years to build that business in Europe, and the doors have shut down. We have not been able to sell a seed since that contamination happened. We have not been able to get back into that market. So we're going through the whole process again, getting the Grain Commission involved, getting a GMO, a non-GMO certificate from the Canadian Grain Commission, set up a whole IP system with a certified seed. Again, this is the third time around the industry goes through this. And why is it that they contaminate our product and we're the ones that have to pay for it? And we're the ones that have to absorb the cost to get that market back. Now, the ironic part of it is, with those contaminations, it actually helped the organic industry. Because consumers are more aware now. They've got the internet. And a lot of them know a little bit what's going on. This would get resolved a lot more if we had labeling laws. That consumers had the right to know what they're eating and the labeling laws. But in the United States, it's almost every state has tried many times in court to try to get this passed, a labeling law. But the Monsantos and the powers to be have enough money and have enough lawyers to stop that. They don't want the consumers to know what they're eating. But hopefully in Canada, we can do something a little bit different. Now, even though, like I said, it actually helped the organic industry with those three crops, it's the opposite with alfalfa. As far as I'm concerned, that is a total affront to the organic industry, because there is no way to stop that cross-pollination or that contamination. There is no reason to spray alfalfa. We never have. We cut it enough times. It's not a weed issue. There's absolutely no reason to spray alfalfa. There's only one reason they want to do it. One, they want to make the money and capture more seed business. Two, it's going to create some more environmental issues because we're doing more spraying. But the real reason, I think, it is it's a total affront. It's the one crop that can pretty well decimate the organic industry. Because the powers to be in the States and the large organic companies are now trying to say, maybe we'll have to maybe put a small level, allow a small level of GM contamination in our organic food, because that's what it's going to do. But how's that consumer going to take that? Well, that's why I buy organics. It's not supposed to have in it. Now there's going to have a little bit in it. Well, what's the sense of buying organic? I mean, that's just one of the reasons. You know, to me, it's just the only reason that this is happening is a total affront to the organic industry. That's enough, right?
Yeah. Do you want to just give a little bit of background for people who aren't aware that what happened with the GE alfalfa decision, and maybe explain how it's used in cover cropping and livestock so that non-farmers understand?
Well, alfalfa crop is the third largest crop there is. There's soybeans and there's corn and soybeans and alfalfa. It's the largest crop, the third largest crop grown in North America. But it affects every livestock industry. Like myself, Keystone Grains has an alfalfa pelleting plant. So we buy alfalfa hay and we make pellets and we put that in the feed industry. It goes into dairy rations, the pork rations, and especially the poultry rations. The largest buyer of alfalfa pellets and meals is the poultry operations. So it's basically, if you have GM contamination, it's going to affect all of those livestock, which is the milk, the eggs, the meat, everything. And that's why I feel it's such an affront. The reason they got by this through the USDA is basically it went through an APHIS regulation. And how they got around it with APHIS is that, and the same with sugar beets, it was regulated, or they want to deregulate it, and the way they got around it, it was to regulate it going through APHIS. So for sugar beets, which was announced Friday, that they're going to issue again, they're going to allow it to be produced again, is because they're restricting it from being grown in California. Well, they don't grow sugar beets in California. And the way they did it with alfalfa, they're having to have a restricted zone in Iowa and Seattle and one more state, a small pocket, and they're saying they're going to try, and it's underlined, try to not contaminate those areas. But that's how they got around it. So basically that's saying it is regulated, because we're not allowed to grow it in these areas. So that's how they got around the law to do this.